This was the scene outside of Smith State Prison today. Our photographer noted a significant security presence around the facility. We know the prison is on complete lockdown today. There's still lots of questions about this incident, like how Hart got the gun into prison walls. We'll, of course, continue to press corrections officials.
Anytime a person is behind bars and serving time in prison, there are rules and regulations that inmates have to follow. Like no cell phones, no illegal substances, no liquor, and definitely no homemade shanks, just to name a few. Even before you enter prison, you have to strip down to nothing, like when you came into this world, so that the guards can verify you don't have anything on you. It not only keeps other prisoners safe, but the staff as well too. Nonetheless, inmates still find ways to get their hands on all things that I mentioned before, because there is always a worker willing to risk it all to sneak things in. It has been going on forever, and I'm sure it'll continue to happen. However, what took place at the Smith State Prison on June 5, 2024, took prison crimes to a whole nother level and left 2 people unalive. Smith State Prison, located in Glennville, Georgia, is no stranger to controversy and a troubled past. The prison is located about an hour and 15 minutes west of Savannah, Georgia, that sits very close to the Atlantic waterways. The Smith State facility opened in 1993 and has a maximum capacity of around 1,500 inmates held at closed security level. This level is only minimized by the maximum security prisons in America, because at closed security, they are not 23-1, so they have more time out of the cells. Unlike max, they don't hang out and only come out for 1 hour a day. Other than that, they are a lot alike, holding some of the worst inmates in the country. Some of the trouble incidents that have taken place in Smith State in recent years show just how far inmates will go, and some staff as well. On Sunday, October 1st, 2023, Correctional Officer 42-year-old Robert Clark was escorting 2 offenders, Leighton Lester and Marco Willingham, from a dining hall at the Smith State Prison when Leighton attacked Robert from behind, according to the official report. Marco stepped in to help Robert during the attack and was also injured. Both men would be rushed to the hospital, but Robert Clark succumbed to his injuries and the other inmates survived. As for Leighton, he was previously convicted of a 2007 unaliving and armed robbery and has been incarcerated since 2010, according to online prison records. That unaliving was just a part of a series of troubling incidents to take place at the Smith State Prison in Glennville. In February 2023, the prison warden, Brian Adams, was fired and arrested on charges of conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organization Act, bribery, false statements, and violation of oath by a public officer, according to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
This week, the GBI arrested the former warden for his role in a prison contraband ring. As our Andy Cole reports, the investigation started after a for-hire plot went wrong.
Could not believe they arrested him. Couldn't believe it.
Shock from this Smith State Prison corrections officer who asked not to be identified after their former boss, Warden Brian Adams, was arrested by the GBI.
We believed, everyone believed, that they were going to let that warden walk.
The case stemmed from an investigation into an unaliving of an 88-year-old local man who was shot down in his home in January 2021. Authorities have charged a Smith State Prison inmate, Nathan Weeks, with the conspiracy to take a life and RICO violations. And the investigation showed he was involved in smuggling contraband inside the prison, according to the Bureau.
According to his affidavit, Adam took bribes from the notorious Yves Saint Laurent squad. YSL is the gang prosecutors say Bobby Kicklighter in the January 2021 botched for hire plot. His neighbor, a corrections officer, was the intended target. As investigators uncovered the truth about Kicklighter, they found the YSL connection, eventually charging the gang leader Nathan Weeks and 3 others with and other charges.
However, it does not end there, because allegedly guns were illegally being smuggled into the prison as well. With all of these incidents happening, one would think that security would be even tighter and shakedowns more often. but the prison was said to be short-staffed, so most likely things were missed over. Now, when most, not all people are locked up, they find their peace having a pen pal, a person to fill their time, whether that be letters, phone call, or visits. A lot of inmates say that it all helps, especially if the person is doing long, hard time. Well, one inmate in Smith State, by the name of JAYDREKUS Carter's Heart, who goes by Jay, was no different when it came to talking to women. Jay initially went to prison in June 2013 for the unaliving of a then 46-year-old Henry Jr. Mathis in Villa Rica, Georgia. It was Memorial Day 2013, and Jay was on the 300 block of Thomas Dorsey Drive in Villa Rica. The initial investigation indicated that Henry was involved in a verbal argument with 22-year-old Jay at the time, who was also from Villa Rica as well, according to law enforcement. During the argument, Jay took a gun from the vehicle driven by another male. Jay then shot Henry multiple times and then drove away from the scene with the other male that was with him. Police later found Henry lying on the sidewalk as they responded to the shooting call at around 9:10 p.m. on Memorial Day. Henry was still alive when officers arrived and was transported to Tanner Hospital in Villa Rica, where he later passed away from his injuries. Jay ended up getting 20 years for the crime, and his maximum release date was set for June 2043. While incarcerated, he was able to obtain a phone at some point and stay active on different social media platforms. He appeared to be highly confident in himself and loved to be in front of the camera. He often would be smoking in his cell, eating outside food, and seemed to be trying to do what helped him pass the time. He also appeared to enjoy seeing his kids when he wanted. Having a phone, he was able to FaceTime with them and vowed that even though he was in jail, he wanted to be a good dad to his 3 kids. One post on Facebook, he would write, "No matter the situation, I'm going to make it my business to be a father to my kids. 11 years in, and I still managed to grow an unbreakable bond and keep them smiling. If it's a will, it's a way." I say that to say this: if you out there, cherish them babies because they didn't ask to be brought into this world. People always say, "J Money, you ain't missing nothing," but I've missed a lot. 11 birthdays, daddy-daughter dances, Christmas, football practices, first days of school, and so much more, so miss me with that. If you got kids, my people, cherish every moment, because you can't get that time back. I have no respect for a man that don't sacrifice for the life he brought in this world. Stop moving like jail don't exist. Now that statement he made was wise, and he even would post about his growth and the change he saw in himself over the years he had been in that concrete jungle. Now while in Smith State, he had become closely acquainted with a cook who worked in the kitchen. He had been there many years, though, before this particular cook started working there. 24-year-old Aureon Grace was an Aramark food service employee from Statesboro, Georgia. Aureon had worked at the prison since January 2024, according to the Corrections Department. Outside the job, she was a mother of 2, a daughter born January 13, 2020, and a son born October 27, 2022. Her kids were her whole world, and she wanted nothing more than to be a great mother. Loved ones described her as having a sweet demeanor with the biggest smile and always being so respectful. She was also said to be so loved by all who knew her and was very goofy. However, her alleged friendship with Jay turned bad quickly. The now 34-year-old Jay appeared to hatch out a tragic plan on Father's Day 2024. Early in the morning hours that day, around 4:30 a.m., Aureon was said to be on duty at work in the prison kitchen when Jay allegedly shot her and then shot himself. At the time of the shooting, the prison went on complete lockdown, and once they were found, tragically, Aureon was already gone. However, Jay was still clinging to life and rushed to a nearby hospital. Despite medical efforts, he did succumb to his injuries shortly after. Authorities also released that Jay left a S-cital letter behind, so some part of it had to be planned. The fact that all of this went on inside of a closed-level prison is wild, but not surprising, sadly, because people and guns are out of control, so there is no surprise that inmates have guns these days. It is a very horrific and tragic story, to say the least. The Georgia Department of Correction currently has custody of the weapon involved in the incident, and their specialized agents have initiated a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding the tragedy. It is also through part of their investigation that it was allegedly determined that the two were in a personal relationship. As a precautionary measure, all Department of Correction facilities across the region were placed on lockdown, although visitation is only suspended at Smith State Prison. Airmark, the company Aureon worked for, expressed profound sorrow over the loss of their colleague in a release statement. We are devastated by the tragic loss of our team member and extend our deepest condolences to our family. Our thoughts and prayers are with them during this difficult time. We are cooperating fully with the Georgia Department of Corrections as they conduct their investigation into this heartbreaking event. And this situation is beyond heartbreaking and terrifying. I'm sure she never thought she would be shot at work inside the jail. No matter what they were doing with each other, her life still mattered and she should still be here on this earth. Her babies are only 4 and 1, and now they are motherless.
We begin tonight at Glennville's Smith State Prison. Overnight, an inmate somehow got his hands on a gun and shot a food service worker before turning the gun on himself. The Georgia Department of Corrections says 34-year-old JAYDREKUS HART, that Aramark contractor in the kitchen. It happened this morning around 4:30. Hart was serving a 20-year sentence for voluntary manslaughter and aggravated charges out of Carroll County. This afternoon, the Tattnall County coroner identified that slain food service worker as 24-year-old Aureon Grace from Statesboro. We're working to learn more about Miss Grace and the life she lived.
Jay was obviously where he needed to be because he has now taken the lives of 2 people that we know of, and one of them right inside the jail. What a crying shame. The corruption, the warden, who knows what else is going on in there and how many guns are floating around. My heartfelt condolences goes out to the family, the kids, and to all her loved ones and her friends. I want to know, who do you think gave Jay the weapon? Also, don't forget to comment your thoughts and prayers for this family in their difficult time, and hit that like button and share to make your people aware. And as always, remember to stay woke. Things change quickly.